Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 154 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on March 14th, 2023. First of all, I hope all of you had a great weekend, and I hope your week is going well. Things are busy on this end, man. It's crazy, but boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to cover on today's episode. We do. A lot of information, I think. We're going to go into the technical discussion of an article that was just published on Sunday, the Thunder Beast Dominus on the MK18. That's right. I'm going to give you a quick talk about the 14.5-inch AR testing, and then a note about some feedback I received from you folks per the last episode regarding your expectations for silencers. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So sit back and relax, or maybe drive really fast. I don't know what you're doing when you listen to this, really, but I hope you enjoy. And first, a word about my gracious sponsors. The J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Top Gun Range Houston. That's right. If you're in the Houston area, and even if you're just visiting down there, it's worth checking out. They got a 15-lane indoor shooting range. They have the largest firearm rental fleet in the state of Texas. That's crazy. You know, you can rent pistols and rifles and shotguns and machine guns and all kinds of stuff, and it's really fun. And you can try a variety of firearms that you might not even know exist, and you can try some that you might have heard about before you buy one. You know, you try one out in the rental fleet, and then, you know, maybe you buy one there, maybe you buy one somewhere else, whatever. Bottom line is you get to freaking try the gun. And that, for me, personally, I love shooting guns before I buy them. Who doesn't like that? That's pretty cool. You can check out the whole rental inventory on their website at topgunrange.com. You can find them on Instagram at topgunrange as well. So go check them out. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by High-End Armament Technology. That's right, a dealer of exactly that, high-end arms and accessories. Yeah, these guys have been around a long time. Significant longevity in the machine gun and NFA game, and they have a certain significant expertise in the procurement of this stuff. Like if you need to find night vision or thermal or infrared sighting systems or crazy machine guns or unicorn Knights Armament stuff or HK stuff, Robert and his crew are going to help you do that, okay? If you need to get in touch with them, they're a great place to call. Check them out at highendarms.com, on Instagram at highendarms, and they even have a Facebook page, which is also High End Arms. I hope they can help you folks out if you need it. Tell them Jay sent you, and maybe they take care of you. Yeah. And as always, the J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Silencer Shop. That's right, the Borg, as it were, the Illuminati of silencers. No. If only. You can use their kiosk, you can do fingerprints and photos electronically, and in turn, you cut down on errors. You simplify your silencer purchasing process. I made myself laugh. It's a conspiracy. Money back guarantee, it's great. No transfer fees, no paperwork errors, just you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. That's right. And if you go to pewscience.com, I'm just tickled right now. I'm sorry. I got to maintain, Jay. You got to maintain professional attitude, professional presentation, professional podcast. No. pewscience.com/podcast. There's coupon codes. You can look at the link in the show notes. And there are things for True Shot Gun Club out of Arizona. There's Magpul. There's all kinds of codes there for you folks to use. The code word PSTEN, PS10 for magpul.com is particularly useful. You get $10 off your order of $100 or more. So you should probably do that when you buy your mags. And then the True Shot Gun Club stuff, use code word PewScience. You get $20 off your membership for free shipping. So it's pretty good. So I hope those things help you. People tell me they use them. I would encourage you to do so. And finally, this podcast is sponsored by PEW Science, pushing the silencer industry forward, one test at a time. Visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating, the simplest and most accurate hearing-safe ratings for your suppressed small arms. That's right, and gosh, we're going to talk about that today, aren't we? It's based on true human inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before combustion takes place until all the combustion is gone. out of the weapon system. That's right. And PEW Science is the home of the Silencer Sound Standard. 7 sections. The most in-depth and accurate silencer data and analysis published on the planet. That's right. Check it out on PewScience.com, and you can support the podcast. You can support PEW Science. You can support all the testing I do for you by joining with a membership at PewScience.com. And you can also donate or donate. You know, there's a feature like that on the review page, on the podcast page on the website. Every little bit helps. And something that's free, doesn't cost you anything. You can give this podcast a good rating on Spotify or iTunes. That would really help. Get a 5-star rating there. Spread the word far and wide about suppressed small arm weapon systems, and we shall take over the world. No, if only. No, but what we will do is we'll normalize the use of suppressed small arms. We play the long game here at PEW Science, and I think you should too. Okay, I have prepared 3 topics for you today. Topic 1, Sound Signature Review 6105. The Thunder Beast Dominus-SR on the 556 Mark 18. Okay, that's the technical discussion of the article I published on Sunday. This one had a bonus case study comparing it with the Surefire SOCOM556-RC2 that I included for members. I hope you members check that out. You're going to want to. It's awesome. And then topic 2, 14.5-inch AR test apparatus. Guess what? It's arriving soon, at least one of them. I ordered a couple of uppers. I got a tracking number. Is this going to be quieter than the Mark 18? Probably, but also you might not break your silencers as easily when you use a 14.5, so you might get a couple benefits out of this testing. I'm excited. And topic 3, man, huge thank you to PEW Science members. You made the most recent article possible in so many ways, and we'll talk about that. Man, it took a village, and the team delivered. Yeah, the whole team here. And, I've been getting a lot of offers how should I say this? A lot of offers to send silencers for testing from you folks. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your support and enthusiasm. I got feedback from several of you regarding your silencer use cases and your expectations of silencer performance after asking that question last episode. So we'll go into that too. Okay? Go into some of that feedback. All right. So let's move into topic 1 at a time of 7 minutes and 29 seconds. Okay. One moment here. All right. Oh, man, I'm excited. I think this is going to be a good episode. I can feel it. All right. Yeah. Topic 1. Sound Signature Review 6105. Thunder Beast Dominus-SR on the 556 Mark 18. Gosh, you guys are in for a treat, man. This is just published it on Sunday, So this is the technical discussion. You got the bonus case study in there. There's all kinds of stuff, and I tell you what, man, boy howdy, I ended up doing it again. Published an article on Sunday. A PEW Science member remarked to me that one of the benefits of this Sunday thing is that I get to the technical discussion on the podcast so quickly after the review publication. And I think that's true. Usually the article would be published on a Thursday, and then you would have to wait an entire week to hear me speak about the technical aspects of the silencer. And now with this, you only have to wait a few days, right? So that's pretty cool, I think. That's pretty cool. So I guess if you're looking for a positive attribute of working on a Sunday, there you go. It's a positive attribute, right? It's like, oh, he worked on a Sunday. That's a good thing. Yeah. It's like no rest, right? But no, I enjoy doing it, and I think it can be good on a weekend. I did a poll, and a lot of folks seem to prefer it. Not everyone prefers Sundays, but a lot of folks did. So I think we'll mix it up. So okay. So what are we doing here? Dominus, right? Yeah. Okay, so this Dominus, I got it right here in front of me on my desk, actually. It's a pretty cool silencer. I like it. So this Dominus, and it's been a while. It's been a while since we looked at a Thunder Beast silencer, right? It's been a while. I mean, it's actually been a couple of years. The last time we looked at the performance of a Thunder Beast silencer was back in October of 2020. In review 624, no less. Is that hold on. I have the Dominus article open, right? Let me click, because I know I put a link in there. Hold on. Yeah. Ultra 9, October 15th, 2020. How about them apples? That's wild. Yeah. 81 articles ago. 81 articles ago, we looked at a Thunder Beast silencer. Hard to believe I published 81 articles between then and now, but here we are. Yeah. You know, back in that review in the 24th article in section 6 of the standard, one of the interesting things we noted about the technical performance of the Ultra 9 was its very consistent performance and its distinct lack of first-round pop, right? Now, is there first-round pop? Yeah, well, there's first-round pop in any silencer, but I'm talking about first-round pop to the inner ear of a bystander shooter, right? Because, I mean, physically, you can see the first-round pop in all the waveforms. I mean, you can't hide that from PewSoft. You know, we don't look at the single peaks. We look at the entire waveform. So, of course, when you look at the entire waveforms, you're going to see this first-round pop because it's a physical phenomenon. But the impact of that signature on the ear can be masked. Yeah, sure can. And, you know, that Ultra 9, it's a bolt gun silencer. And, you know, Thunder Beast, they're always known for those, I tell you what. And so I think when I published that Ultra 9 thing, I think some folks weren't really surprised. Including Thunder Beast. They weren't surprised. They know how their silencer performed. Yeah. So, but you know what's really cool? The really neat thing, though, since the 24th article back in 2020, is that we have seen a lot of waveforms from silencers. Many waveforms from many silencers on many different weapons. And you know what hasn't changed in these 2 years? The fingerprint of Thunder Beast silencers. That's right. But hold that thought, because we're going to talk about that one in a second. But I want to plant that seed. Okay, so first off, let's not get too far off track. Let's get to the Dominus here. The Dominus on the 556 Mark 18, a 30 caliber titanium silencer that interfaces with a stainless steel mount. This is the SR version of the Dominus. The Dominus-SR. Man, I like the names. Thunder Beast has some cool silencer names. The Dominus. You know, the Ultra. That's cool. I don't know. I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of cool stuff about it. Yeah, so Dominus-SR. It uses a brake. It's the SR brake. It is proprietary mounting system. So you look at this. We'll talk about the mechanics of it, but let's just get down to brass tacks, shall we? This is a Mark 18 test. This silencer, if you go to the Thunder Beast website for the Dominus-SR, talks about this being I'll read it to you. Before I go into this, let me just read it to you. Because I put a link to their product page in the review where you can click on their website. And it says, let me just read the paragraph here for you from Thunder Beast's website. Okay. It says, it is a true lightweight go-to-war suppressor and is perfect for 5.56 assault rifles and 30 caliber battle rifles, including SBR variants. It retains the accuracy and repeatability Thunder Beast Arms Corporation is known for. It's equally at home on a quarter MOA bolt rifle on the 1,500 yard range as it is on a Mark 18 in the close quarter battle house. Okay, that's verbatim from the Thunder Beast website, thunderbeastarms.com/product/Dominus-SR. Okay, cool. So there is precedent for using the Dominus-SR on the Mark 18 weapon system. It's literally listed on the website for the silencer from the manufacturer. Okay, I just want to say that to you because I know some folks get a little bit out of shape when we test 30 caliber silencers on the Mark 18, but this is a Mark 18 silencer, so, and you don't have to take my word for it at all. You can ask Thunder Beast because they wrote it. and they made the silencer. So let's go to the review. I pulled up the review already. You can pull it up as well if you want. I have the member review open on PEWScience.com. If you are not a member, that's perfectly fine. You can pull up the free version of the article. I'm going to step through it. I'm going to mention some member stuff. Probably don't worry. You're not going to get lost. I'm not going to leave you behind. Okay. So if you like to follow along at home, you can. If this is the first time you're listening to the podcast, welcome. Thank you for listening. This is something I do every time I go over a technical article, is I step through the article with you, so that we can all learn together. Again, you don't have to. It is an option for you now. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull it up. Sound Signature Review 6.105. Okay, published this past Sunday. All right, how does it do on the Mark 18? Let's look at the suppression rating graphic at the top of the page. Bottom line up front, 26.0 composite suppression rating on the Mark 18, 24.5 at the muzzle, 19.3 at the ear. Okay, so that's where it sits. Those are the suppression rating metrics for you. Is it super quiet on the Mark 18? No, it is not. Is the shooter's ear rating down below 20? Yeah, it's just below 20. That's interesting. It's hitting below 20 there. That's something you might see immediately. Is it a 30 caliber silencer? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay, so those are all interesting things when you put them all together in context. So why don't we do this? Per typical, let's dig into the article to talk about the behavior of the silencer. Okay, so those of you who have followed this research for years, where's the first place we should start now that we have seen the suppression rating numbers? You guessed it, friends. That's right, the fingerprint. That's right. Let's dig into the early time combustion propagation fingerprint of the Dominus and its impulse fingerprints too in the free field, and let's see what makes this thing tick. Okay, scroll down. So you scroll down past table 1. You don't need the peak data. It doesn't help you. Scroll down. Okay, let's go to figure 1. Yeah, all the way down there until you get to figure 1. So per typical, in figure 1A, you have the complete signature in the free field, collected in accordance with the MIL standard, right? That's what the silencer sound standard does. It applies the MIL standard properly. That's right. Just in case some of you didn't know that, but if you read the MIL standard, you'll see that the silencer sound standard is the most strict and accurate implementation of the MIL standard. You can see it's actually collected per the guidelines in the MIL standard because the bolt closes in late time and there aren't any reflections from nearby walls or anything like that. And that's why I show you figure 1A, so you can know the data has that basic integrity. Okay, the basic integrity of the pedigree can be verified at a basic level just by looking at that one chart. Okay, so now that you see that, let's look at a zoomed in view of the early time overpressure. Okay, a zoomed in view of the early time overpressure in the free field is in figure 1B for shot 1 and shot 2. Okay, it's super easy to see the shapes of the waves when there are only 2 curves, right? Makes it less cluttered. So, so that's why I do that for you. It's just a visual for you. Okay, so right away, what do you notice about the signature presented in figure 1B? And by the way, if you're on mobile or desktop, it just shouldn't matter, even tablet, you should be able to click on or tap on the figure and it'll go full size and full resolution for you. Okay, I did the website like that so you could see it closer, because I know sometimes if your screen is small, you click it and you zoom in. You can even on a phone, gosh, you can pinch and zoom and stuff and make it, to see all the perturbations and pressure and everything. So yeah, you can do that. Okay, so what do you notice? What do you notice right away about the signature presented in figure 1B? Okay, I noticed some things right away when I saw the Dominus waveforms. And by the way, I've tested the silencer a lot. I got all up in this Dominus. I've tested on all kinds of weapons. I understand the silencer because I've tested a lot. And I can tell you its fingerprint has some really interesting ramping to it. Ramps. It has the centrally peaked first initial jet. That's a really interesting part of a silencer fingerprint, especially in the MK18. Incredibly interesting. Pretty unique. And then immediately it'll go into rarefaction super quick. Goes negative super fast. And both shots match. In fact, all the shots do it, which is really neat. It's a really interesting thing. Sort of a Thunder Beast thing, but it happens with a lot of silencers, but Thunder Beast in particular. But then what happens after that first cycle? Well, it does it again. Actually does it again. And more intense the second time. Okay. And then it happens repeatedly, and it's happening more intensely. And finally, the most important description of how this is happening, the most important way to describe the sequence is that it's happening. These sequences are happening extremely quickly. And what happens when you get an event like that repeating extremely quickly with increased intensity at a certain rate? Well, you get a certain frequency production. You get a certain pulse. You get a certain pulsing. These are pulses. Okay, the Dominus pulses rapidly. And you know what? It does this with overbore on 556. It pulses like this despite overbore. It does this because of the efficiency of its baffle design. The Thunder Beast baffle design loves to trap gas, to slow it down, to create turbulence, and it loves to do it repeatedly and evenly, again and again. And if you give it a certain jet diameter and pressure input, it will do it all day long, twice on Sunday, and that's exactly what you see in Figure 1B, the first centrally peaked wave event that is the same in all the shots. That's ramp jetting from overbore with bullet shock, and the flow from the Thunder Beast baffle stack is so consistent that it gives you a fingerprint etched in stone, even in pressure space. Okay, even in pressure space. And there's a bonus to it. Okay, there's a bonus to that. Even though you're overboard in this scenario, you're sending a 5.56 projectile and jet through the 30 caliber stack. And even though you're overboard, what does the holistic flow do? What does it do? What does the holistic signature do? It almost looks like an Ultra 9. And if you don't believe me, check out the impulse in Figure 2A. Then if you want, go back to review 624 and look at Figure 4A in the Ultra 9 review. I'm going to do it right now just to jog my memory, because I had this open in another tab because I had clicked it earlier to verify the date. Okay, I'm in the Ultra 9 review, 624 from October. From October of 2020. Yeah, if you look in Figure 4A, you see the impulse waveforms of the Ultra 9. There, 7.62x51 combustion regime on the 20-inch bolt action rifle. And you see kind of how the first round pop begins and then nests with the rest of the waveforms in a certain fashion. And then you go back to review 105 of the Dominus that I just published. And sure, the shape of the curve's different. Yes. Is the gross behavior similar in the way the curves nest in this certain time sequence? Absolutely similar. Absolutely similar. I literally wrote it in the Dominus review. I talked about this already in writing. On Sunday, it's there. Look at the FRP waveform. See it creep up faster in early time, then blend in with the rest pretty quickly? What is that? That's FRP quenching. That's the baffle stack not letting existing air in the silencer propagate combustion. That's another way of saying quenching. Okay. That's a hallmark of Thunder Beast signature, isn't it? That's what their engineers told me back in 2020 when I called them on the phone to tell them about the Ultra 9 testing and analysis I did. I told them about this. Then we talked about it. I remember like it was yesterday. I was sitting in the same chair I'm sitting in now. I was sitting in the same chair I'm sitting in now, at the same desk, where I record all these episodes and I write all the reviews. I remember. I don't forget things like that. So I called them in 2020. I told them the results of my testing analysis, and they confirmed that they measure close to the same peak pressures in the free field that I do. It's fine. Of course they would. In the free field, the peak pressure, of course. Use a DAC, you're going to get the same pressure, whatever. You can, if you're measuring fast enough, I would think you would get a similar peak. Sure. Okay, that's fine. But I also told them, I said, well, it's good to look at the whole thing. Look at the whole waveforms because the shape of the waveform matters a lot. And that's how the conversation ended. Okay? So if anyone wants to speculate about that, they can. It's not gossip. It's fact. So recounting the history of technical discussion and peer review is what it is. Okay, so here we are in 2023, and what do you see in Review 105? Well, you see 30 caliber silencer on the Mark 18. And what do you see it do? Well, it's shorter than the Ultra 9. You see it on a short barrel 556 instead of 308, and you see that it's louder. But you also see that it shares similar waveform characteristics to the Ultra 9. They're two different silencers. They're different weapons. It's a different year. It's a different cartridge. It's a different length. It's the same baffle design, same basic baffle design. This is Thunder Beast. This is the Dominus. And what does the baffle design do? What does it do? You may not know this, but if you look into the blast chamber of a Dominus, it's not like it's like heavily ported or something. Unless I'm like missing like some secret passageways here or something. I mean, I have it right in front. It's in my hand, dude. So where does the flow go if you shoot a Mark 18 into this? What if you shoot your Mark 18 load right into the silencer? What happens? Well, if you're going to... Well, first... What's a blast chamber? Well, it's an expansion chamber. Okay. The flow is going to expand, whatever. Where's it going to dump? Well, it has to go through that first orifice. It has to. You know, you got this, but it's not like it's a flat plate, dude. This is a Thunder Beast baffle, so they've got the geometry tuned just right. They know what they're doing, dude. They know how to make silencers. Their silencers are super duper precise in the way they're made, like meticulously so. And you can tell when you pick it up. It's like one of the most... Thunder Beast silencers are some of the most high-quality silencers meticulously made that you will ever handle in your entire life. I am telling you that. I don't sell silencers. I don't have skin in the game. I'm not telling you to go buy one. All I'm saying is like, if someone was like, who makes really high-quality silencers? Thunder Beast would be on the list. So when you look in the blast chamber, like you kind of know what's going on, but you're like, wow, that's like exacting. Just you can tell. And when it flows, well, where does it go? Well, it's got to go through the primary bore. And does it happen super easily? Well, no. And what happens when the flow gets past that first orifice? What happens then? Are you shuttling gas quickly through the Dominus? Well, no. It's a Thunder Beast silencer. It's not designed like that. They don't do that. The Ultra 9 didn't do that. This doesn't do that. The baffle doesn't do that. You can look at the silencer. This is the 105th time I've explained silencer performance to you on this podcast. And what episode is this? 154? We've been through this. I'm not trying to patronize. I'm not trying to talk down to anybody. I'm not trying to be condescending at all. But I'm telling you guys, if you see the inside of one of these silencers, you're going to understand pretty quick what's going on. All right. Look at figure 2A in the review. It's taken a long time to generate peak positive phase impulse here, buddy. It's taken a while, dude. It's taking a while for the Mark 18 for a 30 caliber silencer. What does the Dominus do? It's a gas trap. Traps gas, but it doesn't trap gas like certain other silencers do. And especially not like other silencers that are overboard for the cartridge. No, it doesn't do that. It traps gas in phases. Remember what I said about it pulsing? The Dominus, and I don't know, I mean, you have to do some really high-level modeling to understand the phases, but it's a pulsing silencer, and we get a little bit of a window into that. Okay, in the article, The first phase is a stagnation phase, which is actually typical with certain silencers. Second stage is a pressure ramp with quick release, and the third stage is constant cycling, the pulse. 3 stages of gas flow through the Dominus. They initiate extremely quickly, and they are all clearly visible in Figure 1B and Figure 2B in different space. When you realize how much the Dominus pulses, and then you take off your hearing protection to actually hear the silencer being shot on the weapon, you will remark, that sounds weird. That's because it should. Because your ears can tell. It's not quiet on the Mark 18, and frankly, it does have a little bit to do with the peak pressure measured in the waveforms, to the extent there is overpressure. Like, for example, like, it's not a pin drop, right? It's a gunshot. So, like, to the extent it's a gunshot, the peak pressure matters because it's not a pin drop. But how the Dominus sounds compared to other silencers, it's not a function of the single maximum peak pressure. It's not a function of that. That's not how on earth is 1 microsecond of how is one drop of water in the ocean going to affect this? Like, it's not a function of peak dB. It's a function of the entire waveform and how that waveform interacts with the human ear. And there are 2 things about the Dominus that are immediately apparent in the test data. Guys, there are significant high-frequency pulsing components, and the flow rate's lower than typical for a 30 caliber silencer on the Mark 18. You can see it in the data. And in fact, here's an experiment for you. For you folks at home, if you want to try this at home, you certainly can. If you were to put a SAM NS on a Mark 18 and a Dominus on a Mark 18, which of those 2 silencers would have a lower flow rate? Let me repeat. If you were to put a SAM NS on a Mark 18 and a Thunder Beast Dominus on a Mark 18, which of those 2 silencers would have a lower flow rate? Which one would trap gas for longer? Which silencer would have a higher back pressure? I'm just saying synonyms at this point. Which silencer has a higher back pressure on the Mark 18? Is it the SAM NS or is it the Dominus? Guys, it's the Dominus. Are both silencers 30 caliber? Yes. Does the Dominus trap more gas? Yes. Is the Dominus quieter at the muzzle than the SAM NS? Yeah, by a little bit. But only by a little bit, right? So, if the Dominus traps way more gas than the SAM NS, and it isn't much quieter than the SAM NS at the muzzle, well, what's going on? You might say, well, how come, but Jay, it traps more gas, and you said it's the wave shape, guys. It's amplitude, duration, frequency, and phase. The 4 pillars of waveform anatomy. The first one, amplitude. If you only think about that one, only one peak, you are off in simple waveform land. I'm gonna use some terms now. I'm trying to really explain this to you in a simple way. This is not simple waveform land. This is suppressed gunshot land. Suppressed gunshot land is way more complicated than gunshot land. Okay, I hope folks understand that when you put a restricted device over a jet nozzle, the output of the nozzle is not the same phenomenon as a free orifice. It's not the same type of phenomenon. You can't think of suppressed gunshots like you can unsuppressed gunshots. It's different physics, guys. The durations are ramped up. They're super long. You need to look at the whole thing. You can't treat them the same, guys. And that's something that people getting in trouble because they're not really looking at this. And you're gonna chase your tail because I'm telling you, take those 2 silencers. I don't care. I have no skin in the game. Dead Air SAM NS and a Thunder Beast Dominus. Go take them out and shoot them on all kinds of guns. And go measure them with a meter. Pick whatever sound meter you want and measure them every day, all day, every day, and everywhere. And the Dominus is going to have a lower peak pressure every time. And it's going to be like not that much quieter at the muzzle at all on the Mark 18. Like do it every day. I can't express to you like how it doesn't matter. Like I showed you the answer already. So I did. And you know what? And I thought about this, and I was like, when I was writing this, I wrote it and I was like, how am I going to get this point across differently? I was like, because someone's going to argue, I'm like, well, the peak pressure is so much lower. How come the suppression rating is different? I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, if you still want to like not listen, it's okay. I was like, but you know what? I'm going to let members have this because you guys support it. I figured, you know what? I'll just give you a whole case study in the article. And so this is what I did. And I went super simple, super brief, super simple. But at the same time, I hit the high points for you and I used some pictures, didn't I? I made some plots, special plots for that case study. So in the member version of the review for this Dominus, PEW Science members can see actually 2 silencers compared on the Mark 18. And guys, and I've used this term before, I think it's an apt term to use. This is the most Switzerland of Switzerland here. I picked the Surefire RC2 and the Thunder Beast Dominus-SR, okay? Surefire's not a client. They've never contributed to the effort. Thunder Beast, same. They're not a client. They've never contributed to the effort. I'm like, you know what? This is neutral ground completely. There's no opportunity for anyone to argue about that. It's like, you can't give the haters any fuel, right? So you're like, okay, let's just do 2 completely like neutral silencers on like, when they play like a sports game and like they have to pick a stadium that's on neutral ground. Let's do that. So we did that, right? So both silencers have been tested by PEW Science a lot. So these are like well understood silencers, right? So I'm like, this is perfect. On multiple guns. So I'm like, okay, perfect. Got it. So I can tell you, like, for me, like, technically, as the person writing the articles and doing the analysis, I can tell you I understand these 2 silencers. I'm like, awesome. So what did I do? I overlaid impulse waveforms for members. Okay? And if you're not a member and you're listening to this, I'm sorry. Maybe when you're a member someday you can read it. But what I did for them is I overlaid the impulse waveforms to describe to you some things you can notice when you look closely. Okay, I'm summarizing some of this for you. If you're not a member, it's fine. I told you I'm not going to leave you behind. I'm telling you high level. So at the muzzle, on the Mark 18, the Surefire silencer and the RC2 and the Thunder Beast, at the muzzle, it's a different world. It's a different world, dude. The Surefire silencer has a higher peak pressure and impulse. Yes, it would make sense that it has a higher peak pressure and impulse. Is the Surefire louder at the muzzle because of this? No, it's not. No way, Jose. It sure isn't. It sure isn't louder than the Dominus. Don't believe me? Okay, cool. Just like I told you with the Salmon S, put an RC2 on a Mark 18 with a 3-prong. Okay, then put a Dominus on the Mark 18. Give it to your buddy. Sit down in a chair like 10 yards out from him, whatever. Have him fire it all day. All day, every day, the RC2 is going to be quieter than the Dominus. And guess what? Go take your sound meter. That's right. I want you to do that. Or don't use a sound meter. Use a data acquisition system. Go use what Thunder Beast uses. And then go measure your buddy shooting the 2 silencers. Guess what? All day, every day, the peak sound pressure of the Surefire is going to be higher. All day, every day, your sound meter is going to tell you the Dominus is quieter. But it's not. You can keep metering it all day, every day. And every day, that sound meter is going to tell you that the Dominus is quieter. But it's not. The Dominus is going to damage your ears more. Is your meter lying to you? Is Thunder Beast's meter lying to them? No. Absolutely not. The meter's not lying at all. It's a machine. It can't lie. You tell it to do something. As long as you set it up right, it's going to output whatever it measures, dude. It's an inanimate object. It's literally a computer with it's converting it's converting sound pressure to voltage. That's all it's doing. Okay, with pressure transducers, that's all it's doing. So as long as you hook it up right and you understand how to calibrate things, and you're not testing the wrong environment and blah blah blah. Yeah, like assuming you know what you're doing, the equipment should. Now, that's not to say people know what they're doing. I'm just saying it's not the equipment's fault. What the problem here is, if you think you can play one note from one song from one singer and have the same experience as seeing them live in concert for a whole night, I don't know what you're smoking. And a single microsecond, okay, because that's how fast PewSoft acquires data, a single microsecond of the waveform does not determine how the silencer sounds. That is technically incorrect. It has never been correct. It will never be correct ever. And as long as we have physics on Earth, how we currently do, it will never be correct. It will never. So go shoot an RC2 and a Dominus on the Mark 18. Come back to the website. See that the Dominus has a lower peak dB, even though it's a louder silencer. And then finally, just look at the suppression rating, dude, because when you look at the suppression rating for the two silencers, it's a pretty big gap. What's the Dominus at the muzzle? 24.5? 1 meter left of the end cap? Okay, cool. What's the RC2 with the 3-prong? 35.4? Guys, that's a pretty big gap. Like really big. Like over 10 points different. So they probably, given the suppression rating and how long has the Surefire silencer been let me just, I'm sorry, let me click it to see. I published the Surefire SOCOM556-RC2 on the Mark 18 on September 9th of 2021. It is March 14th of 2023. That's how long that data has been there for peer review. For the world. Okay? Okay. So, I don't know what else to tell you now. Okay, so I tried to explain it to members in the review to show you some highlights of the waveforms to make you understand that there are a lot more than just the peaks that influence it. Should I do another dedicated member research supplement to show you inner ear response, like I have done in, oh gosh, hold on 1 minute. Let me see when that was. What article was it? Oh, article 103. When I titled it Research Supplement, The Quietest 556 SBR Silencers, Taming the Mark 18, Part 4, Huxworks versus Otter Creek Labs versus CGS versus Surefire. Should I do that for the Thunder Beast? And just have Thunder Beast and Surefire and that's it? I could do that if you want. Give me feedback. Let me know. If you're a member, let me know. Let me know what you want. I tell you what, you know what? You tell me which silencers you want included, and I'll do that. Pick one. Pick them, and I'll do it. I have the data. I can do whatever. Tell me which silencers you want compared, like the ones in 103. Tell me which ones you want to compare with the Thunder Beast, and I'll do it. Pick the Thunder. Okay, so that's what I'm asking you to do right now. The Thunder Beast Dominus-SR. Okay, and then pick another sound signature review on the Mark 18, and I'll nest them together and show you how the inner ear differs. I can do it all day, every day, because I have the data, all the raw waveforms. Remember? Okay, I'm going really in depth in this because there's some confusion, and I don't want there to be confusion, and that's why I put that case study in the article for members. I wanted to make sure you had that because I've been saying this for years, and I just wanted to tell you that if you test only peak dB and you look at the Dominus results, and then you go shoot a Surefire RC2 on the Mark 18, you're going to have a different experience. Okay, so that's talking about the muzzle. Now, what about the ear? What about the shooter's ear with the two silencers on the Mark 18? I actually compared that for members too. I did the same exercise. Well, what's the interesting thing about the shooter's ear? Okay, is it a similar story? Well, as members see in the case study in the review, the silencers are more similar at the shooter's ear than they are at the muzzle, right? Why is that? Why would these two silencers perform more similarly at the shooter's ear than the muzzle? I'll tell you why in the member version of the review, but this should not be a mystery for anyone. It's because of the weapon system. Guys, there are some clear phenomena described in the case study for members to examine. Suffice to say, you have to take a close look at the data. And by the way, for those of you wondering how else you can know if the Dominus has more flow restriction, there are signs. It's in the data. You can't hide. It's there. There are signs. The member review has signs at the shooter's ear waveforms, as every member review does. You can see the flow restriction in the rate of gas coming out, which isn't always a telltale sign, but it's a strong one, especially in this case. Due to the design of the silencer, there's like no alternate flow paths in this thing, so there's no black magic happening. I mean, right? Yeah, I hope this helps people. I hope the case study helps. I've told you guys, and it's funny because some of you actually predicted this review was going to be published. I told you guys there are certain silencers that just always have lower peak amplitude to their signatures, and they're just louder. I've told you guys the silencers with the lower peak pressures, sometimes you're going to have silencers like that, and they're just they're louder to your ear. I've told you this for 3 years now. Hey, puppy dog, my dog is crying at me. I just let you out. You're gonna have to eat dinner. Mrs. PEW Science is out of town, and she had a work trip, and this puppy dog is hungry. Hey, I'll feed you. I literally just let you. She's just needy. This dog, really. Hey, baby. I know. Well, go on. Many of you asked about our dog. She's a Australian Shepherd. She was in the hospital. She's okay now, though. She's okay. She's a good girl. All right, we'll go on. I'll go feed you in a little bit. You're good. You're fine. Dog's sweet. Tell you what was I talking about? Oh, right. Some silencers are louder to your ear, despite having the lower peak sound pressure measured by whatever meter you want. And it's always that's just it's because loudness of a long duration blowdown event out of a small arm weapon silencer is extremely complex compared with more simple waveforms, and so you need many more waveform components than just its peak to characterize loudness to the ear. This is just wave physics and inner ear response, and it's not as simple as you make it out to be. And a lot of folks might wonder, this over the years, and this is one of the reasons why I wrote the Silencer Sound Standard. It's one of the reasons PEW Science existed. No one was doing this justice, and that's why I'm doing it. And I've told you this for 3 years. I said it the first day I launched the standard. I've told it to every single client that I test with for PEW Science. Every single client of PEW Science sees that the suppression rating is accurate. This case study shows you an example that's super well known, super prolific. Everyone that shoots a MK18 suppressed has probably heard an RC2 on it. This is it, guys. I picked the RC2 because it is, someone on Reddit was like, oh, the RC2 is the standard. It's compared to everything. It's like, no, it's not necessarily the standard, but it is a well-known silencer that was designed for the weapon. And super prolific. Surefire makes so many silencers. A lot of people say that certain manufacturers, they see like problems with manufacturers that are very common because, they sell a lot, so that's why you see a lot of them broken. No, not necessarily. Surefire sells way more, and so do Surefire silencers break too? But I'm telling you right now, the proliferation of Surefire silencers, that's one of the reasons it's in the review. Surefire's never funded a review, but if we were going to test the MK18, the Surefire silencer had to be tested, and now you see why. If you do not have the engineering expertise to perform these tests, read these tests, or understand these tests, that's okay. You can find an RC2 and a Dominus and shoot them on the Mark 18. Have a buddy shoot them, stand far away so you don't get hurt, and you will have mapped your impression of the suppression rating. And I hope you do it, because you'll find that the suppression rating holds true and the peak dB is useless to you. Okay? At the ear, it's a different story. We've already talked about that, so don't go hot and heavy thinking that it's going to be just like earmuffs, because it's not, because the Mark 18 is loud. Okay? So, let me get a drink of water 1 second. As I completely... Oh, jeez. I got to pause this. I just made a mess. 1 second. Sorry, guys. I can't take me anywhere. Okay, so what I was going to say... And I think, and to be clear, like I'm not trying to talk bad about the Dominus, but what I'm trying to do is help you understand something that, PEW Science members have understood it for years now, but a lot of people they're not getting it, and like they're not getting why a peak could, like a single peak number could not represent the signature. I'm like, I don't know another way to explain that to you, other than how I've done it on the website and how I've done it in the article, especially the case study. So, I think that the member research supplements help. At least they should, especially with take the Huxworks, right? Like the Huxworks Flow 556K. Objectively, that thing induces less hearing damage risk at the shooter zero in the Mark 18 than the other silencers. Okay? That's what the suppression rating quantifies, hearing damage risk, right? So some people are like, well, I shot a Huxworks silencer, or my buddy did, or whatever, and it was way louder than I thought. And I was like, okay, thank you for your feedback, and thank you for sharing your experience. What do you mean it was louder? And they tell me, I'm like, oh, did it sound like a boomy gunshot, but like not as intense? They're like, yeah, that's exactly what it sounded like. I'm like, yeah, I know it does. Because if you look at the member research supplement, that's exactly what it shows it sounds like in the frequency domain to the human ear. And why is that? Well, there's a couple reasons. The frequency response of your ears to that high flow rate signature, coupled with the fact that it has a super low muzzle suppression rating. So if you're hearing something in late time from downrange reflections, that's certainly going to wake you up. But does that mean it's more risky to your hearing health as the shooter? Well, no, it doesn't mean that. And that the suppression rating quantifies hearing damage risk potential. It's written on the website. In like 105 places, or whatever, 110 places if you count the intro to the standard. So it's like, I don't, okay. So I'm not throwing shade at the Dominus. I'm just telling you what PEW Science is here to help you quantify hearing damage risk and tell you why the silencer does that. That's all. That's the job. That's what I do. That's my job. I'm not here to talk about, oh, this silencer is really pretty. Although I do talk about that sometimes, and so let's talk about it right now. Okay? Because some people complain oh, he doesn't give any credit to anything else. I'm like, well, that's not true. I totally do. It's not my job, but on this podcast I do it's 150 something episodes. I think I've talked about how silencers look a lot and stuff. And I think I repeated it at least 3 times in the article that the Thunder Beast silencer is very consistent. The FRP performance is very good relative to later shots. Things high quality. I use the word high quality. 3 positive traits of the silencer. I said positive things about it. Hey, I'll give you another positive trait about the Dominus. I think the mount's really cool. Okay, so that's 4 positive things about the silencer. Consistent. Hallmark FRP quenching, high quality, cool mount. Thunder Beast makes really nice looking silencers. They're lightweight, and the mount of this silencer in particular is kind of cool. I can tell it is cool. I can tell you that when I went to test this, and I have tested this on several guns, guys, and there's going to be more coming. I was really excited to use the mount. It's really easy to use. You screw the silencer onto the muzzle brake, and then you turn the locking collar, and you're done. It's so simple, dude. It has a little paw thing. It has like this little finger. It's like kind of comes out. It's awesome, dude. I don't know. I like how it's like sometimes like I'm just sitting here like actuating it back and forth. It's such a nice silencer. It's like so well put together and finished well and smooth. And this one happens to be black. The end cap to me, it's so simple. I love the way it looks. I'm a sucker for it. You guys got to realize Thunder Beast is making silencers for a long time, and they're really old school in a lot of their design elements, and I appreciate that because I'm a little old school. So I like the way it looks. So when I went to test it, I was really excited. I was really excited to use the mount. It's really easy to use. Now, one thing you got to be careful with. I should say, no, I don't want to put that in there right now because I'll get stuck. But because I don't have it on a gun, the mount's sitting there in front of me too. It's super secure. Like when you lock it in there, it's like it's not going to move. So it's cool. But I was going to say one thing you have to be careful with, and I said this. I think I said this in the review summary at the very end of the review. The locking collar is pretty flush with the mount shoulder. So if you're installing this on a gun with a handguard and your barrel shoulder is flush with the handguard, you might need a spacer or something. I don't know. It depends on your gun. Be careful. Okay. So just for fit and stuff. So if you lock the silencer and it also, if you lock it with the locking collar guy thing here, which is super easy to see if it's locked or unlocked. I love how their engraving is super big, super easy to read. Like it's like, oh my God, thank God someone did that. It's like, what a good design. Aesthetic, like what good industrial design. Like there's a lot of whoever designed it, they're probably pretty smart. So at least with this design, if you lock the silencer though, and it looks like the locking collar is crooked, like from like on axis, it's not really a problem. It's just the way it locks. At first, I was like, "Oh man, did I break it? It's not even my silencer. Oh God." I was like, "I don't want to have to buy it." No, or not give it back to the gentleman. No. At first, I thought there was a problem, but there's not. I took a closer look, and it's just the way the thing works, so no worries there. It's a really slick mounting system. I actually like it better. I have to say, I like it more than their regular taper mount that Thunder Beast has. This one, I think that's called their CB mount. This one, the SR, it has the taper in the front of the threads there and gets less carbon all up in there. And the locking collar gives me that warm fuzzy. Yeah, so yeah, I think it's an improvement over their other mount. I mean, that's now for some people might have a different opinion about that. That's fine. I'm just, with regard to the mount, that's just my opinion. I take it or leave it. I like it. I think the SR mount's cool. One second. And another thing that's good about this SR brake mount is that it's made of steel and it blocks the muzzle jet from directly impinging onto the Dominus's titanium blast chamber and blast baffle. This thing, it's like a big old sacrificial brake, heavy duty, it like heat soaks and stops impingement and, well, probably not a lot of heat soak. It doesn't have a lot of thermal mass, but it's a big guy. It's heavy. So yeah, now remember, you got to remember this silencer is not a high flow rate silencer. It's going to immediately want to trap all the gas in the first expansion chamber. And on a Mark 18, on a machine gun, even on an 11.5, frankly, if you shoot a silencer like this with a conventional cone baffle made of titanium, you're going to erode it. Okay, you're gonna damage the silencer. You're gonna start to burn the leading edge. The particles are gonna erode and burn. That's what titanium does. So by using the steel brake mount, they're able to You can hammer on this silencer. You can hammer on it on a machine gun, and the outer tube still holds everything together. The baffles are gonna hold up. The thing will survive. And now, sure, it's gonna get hot, but it has enough strength when it gets hot. Right? That's the key. It's like, sure, something gets hot. Does it lose strength as temperature climbs? It does. Is there adequate yield strength for it to maintain structural integrity at temperature? Well, in their testing, they have proven that that is the case according to their website. So I would tend to agree. I would tend to believe them. They wouldn't say that for no reason. So there you go. Okay, so there's a reason. That's the design. So there's a reason you have to use that brake, I think, because without the brake, you wouldn't want to put it on SBR for intense firing schedule, would you? Because then how are you going to soak up that? How are you going to deflect that jet impingement, right? Now, this is the Dominus-SR. Now, they make a Dominus-CB, which I think that's that CB mount like the Ultra 9 has, yeah? I'm pretty sure that's the same top mount, yeah. I don't have the Ultra 9 in inventory anymore. Otherwise, I would have brought it out here too when I was recording this. But anyway, the Dominus-CB, pretty sure it uses those other mounts. Those are the tapers behind the threads. And I remember when I think you remember me talking about in 2020, whenever I did the Ultra 9, that mount gets stuck and stuff. You got to clean it more. Now, if you clean it, you're good, right? As long as you clean it. I think that's what I said back then a couple years ago. That's true. It's just with this one, I bet you have to clean it less. I'm a believer in cleaning my mounts because I like to clean things in general, like to not leave them horribly gross all the time. I mean, if I'm using something a lot, like I'll tend to perform maintenance on it. I don't clean it crazy, but with that CB mount, you probably need to clean it more. So that's one other version of this they make. They make another version called the Hub, the Dominus Hub, which is that universal back end thing. So I don't know. Knock yourself out if you're into that, whatever. You can't this SR mount, does it work for machine guns because of the prevention of jet impingement on the baffles? And I'd say yeah, but probably the retention is important. And you use the hub mount and you use some mount that maybe doesn't retain as well, and you shoot off the gun, or I don't know, right? You just gotta be careful because all bets are off, right? All bets are totally off if you use a mount that isn't up to snuff. And that's one of the liability concerns, or maybe not liability concerns. That's one of the concerns manufacturers have when they put a universal back end on a silencer, because they're letting the consumer decide what to do, and that's dangerous. Because consumers are really good at breaking things, much better at breaking things than guys in the military and stuff. Because consumers don't have any rules, You're crazy. I'm one of you. So that's the Dominus. It's relatively light. It's a relatively lightweight titanium silencer that's kind of fat. It's 1.8 inches in diameter, right? It's a welded core inside an outer tube. They still do that, old school. That's fine. I think it's cool. Not tubeless. It can be brown or it can be black. It has a neat locking mount. You can shoot a machine gun if you use that mount with the Dominus-SR. But yeah, it doesn't have a high flow rate, so you're going to notice that. It's going to have a little higher back pressure than you think. What else? Oh, right. Figure 6. We didn't scroll down in the review all the way down to Figure 6, that big old bar chart. You'll see it has a similar signature severity to bystanders of the Mark 18 as the Helios QD, I think. Helios QD solid with the direct thread mount that comes with the Helios QD is 24.7. Dominus-SR is 24.5. Okay, so that's really similar. Same thing. Let's see. But it has more back pressure, so the ear rating is lower, right? Yeah, 19.3 versus the Helios is 22.3. Yeah, because the Helios is basically like a Surefire at the ear of the shooter with that mount. That's what I should do. I keep forgetting to do that test with a special mount of the Helios QD. Oh, what I need to do is release the Helios DT data, because then you'll see what the Helios QD does when it has a different mount. Anyway, but yeah, I'm just trying to give you a peg point of what the Dominus-SR does. So yeah, that's the muzzle. It's the same. Okay, Helios QD has a bigger bore than the Dominus too, which is interesting. And the suppression rating is a little bit better at the muzzle. It's interesting. So again, that's a frequency thing. Let's see what else. Oh, right. Yeah, because there's a couple signature components that reduce the suppression rating of the Dominus at the ear compared to the Helios QD. There's a couple things we already went into that, and then if you look at the Salmon S, so the Dominus-SR is a little quieter than the Salmon S to bystanders. Yeah, it's a couple of points quieter than the Salmon S to bystanders. It's about as dangerous to the shooter's ear on the standard Mark 18 as a polonium or a Razor 556. Right? Yeah, around 19 something. Yeah. Real close to the Razor 556 at the shooter's ear. But the Razor 556, let's see, I think has it's a little bit lower muzzle rating too. Okay. So yeah, that gives you a little peg point there. Little peg point. I hope figure 6 helps. It helps that put everything in context. It's a nice silencer. Maybe the signature isn't as pleasing as some other ones. It's not gonna win any that sounds good contests on the Mark 18 necessarily to the shooter. If you're shooting it, and maybe you're gonna tune your gun more. Maybe that'll help you. If you're the shooter, okay, I can't speculate because there's some frequency components that are contributing to that. So yeah, it's not completely unexpected performance, not terrible performance, but not super high performance either with regard to signature suppression. Okay, but that's the Dominus-SR. Again, a lot of high quality things with it. And I would just want to say, final thing I'll say here is I wanted to thank a PEW Science member. This is his personal silencer, and he sent this to me a while back because he doesn't have his guns yet that he has back ordered to use it on. He told me I could test it, and you know what? He hadn't even shot the silencer yet. So I put the first rounds through this silencer. Can you believe that? This gentleman doesn't know me from Adam. He sent me his personal silencer, brand new, for me to, and trusted me with it for over a year now. I have tested it on a variety of weapons. I've kept it safe in my inventory on my books, and I'm performing diagnostic services on it here, and we communicate every once in a while. We send emails back and forth, and we talk, and I let him know this silencer's safe and sound, and this guy, he wanted to know how his exact silencer performed. And, for a while, we didn't have a lot of demand for the data, and I tested it. I was like, you know what? I have other things to do. And, I started getting more requests for it. And I was like, well, I have the data. Let me go ahead and publish the data. And that's the first Dominus article. There'll be more when I have time. But he told me there's no rush. And, now we're getting the 14.5 upper. So I'll test it on the 14.5 too. We'll see. Hey, maybe it does way better. I don't know. No, I have no idea what's going to happen. It'll get quieter. I don't know how quiet. I don't know how quieter. How much quieter. But yeah, we'll do that too. Why not, right? Silencer's basically brand new. It's like so pretty. What a good, pretty silencer envelope. Yeah. So yeah, it's right here. It's on my desk. I'm about to put it back in the old storage, and just wanted to keep it out here for the review. So thank you, sir. I'm not going to say your name on the podcast due to OPSEC, of course, but you're a gentleman and a scholar. I should make a list of all you that have kind of let me borrow your silencers for the cause and like have some kind of get together or something. I'll go to a bar and I don't know, get rowdy. I hope that data analysis helped you guys. Okay. All right. Let's move into topic 2 at a time of 1 hour, 8 minutes and 30 seconds. That topic was getting long in the tooth, wasn't it? All right. We're an hour in. I gotta get dinner started here. The dog's got to eat. Topic 2. This will be fast. Topic 2, 14.5-inch AR-15 Test Apparatus. Yeah. I have received tracking for at least one of the uppers I ordered. I don't know which one it is. I have a sneaking suspicion it's the one with the dang pinned flash hider that I'm going to send to trajectory arms to get drilled out. But yeah, that 14.5. Is it quieter than the Mark 18? Probably. I was talking about it being safer for your silencers, though. We just talked about the Dominus for an hour. Speaking about titanium silencer erosion, man, 14.5, am I right? It's like, how cool is that? Like, really don't have to worry about breaking stuff as fast, right? I mean, right? As fast, at least. It's a good thing. Definitely good to not have to worry about a severe, insane muzzle jet from the 10.3 inch, right? It's still bad, right? It's still bad, but it's not Mark 18 bad, So you'd be surprised how much an extra 4 inches of barrel is going to help you, right? I mean, that's cool. So I'm excited. I'm excited to start the testing. I know at least one of the uppers that I ordered is coming soon. Looking forward to it. I know it's quieter than Mark 18. But I also know that flow rate's still going to matter. So that's going to be really neat to evaluate. How is the shooter's ear suppression rating going to vary? I don't know. But I think it's worth talking about durability, though, because I've gotten some questions about this, and I think it is important. There are some nuances to it. I do think there's something to be said for the peace of mind when shooting the silencer on 5.56 a lot. If you're going to be really hammering on your silencer, you can get a way tougher silencer, or you can lengthen your barrel. Okay, you have some choices. You can also change the type of muzzle device that you use. I would say that if you have a very short barrel, and a three-prong flash hider, and you have heavy firing schedules, you're going to see more erosion, okay? With high-quality silencers that are, they're going to last a while, and maybe a lot of erosion doesn't really matter, but if the bore of the silencer gets super wide for the first few baffles, like in the first few baffles, if your bore starts to just open up like a bunch, and it happens like super early in the silencer's life, that's not good, dude. Some people sent me some photos on social the other day of a silencer with stellite baffles, and like the guy was like, yeah, I shot whatever thousands of rounds, and on like a 11.5 or something like that, and I was like, I was looking at the baffles, and it was like, I was like, they were eroding like a sandcastle at high tide. I was like, what? Those are stellite? No way. I was like, no, that's crazy. Because like I have some rugged silencers that I've never seen that happen to, and I pounded them. So I was like, what silencer is that? So it wasn't a rugged silencer, but like I saw that, and I was like, what? I was like, so keep track of it, kind of. Like I don't know that. Now I've seen some Knights Armament silencers with some crazy erosion, but then I've seen like some Knights Armament silencers that don't have erosion at all, that have a high round count. So I guess it just depends on the mount. I would say the three prongs are the thing that's killing you. Three prongs are your enemy when it comes to erosion on super short barrels. So just check it, right? Or at least have a good warranty or something. But with the 14.5 inch AR, you're going to have way less pressure and heat, and the jet's going to be different intensity. So that's going to result in less severe input into the silencer, and it should result in a less severe output from the silencer. Okay, and I was alluding to this the other day to a gentleman on Reddit. He asked me about it, and I was saying, I don't think the performance is going to be like the performance change is going to be linear, because you got to remember when some silencers do different things when the pressure gets really high. And that means that some silencers might do different things below certain pressures, right? So if we change the combustion pressure and duration in a way that trips gas dynamics to a different regime, does that mean some silencers might be less efficient with longer barrels? Like that would be like some other silencers being less efficient with shorter barrels, which is true too. So it's like, well, yeah. So you have three silencers, and one works the best with the Mark 18. What if like it becomes number 2 instead of number 1 on the 14.5? You feel me? Like, I don't know. Like, is that possible? Like, I don't know. Maybe. I think it is. Like, I don't know. I think it's possible. I've done some testing that kind of makes me believe that. So I'm like, it's interesting. So we'll see. Or it could just all scale normally, and who knows? It's like, oh, never mind. It's all predictable, and we're done. La la la. No, it'll be an adventure. We'll try it out. Okay. All right. Let's move into topic 3 at a time of 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 12 seconds. Oh yeah. This is an important topic. 1 second. Man, huge thank you. And speaking of that guy and the guy who let me continue to borrow his Dominus You're the man. Thank you, sir. Thank you to all the PEW Science members. You guys literally made the article possible. That guy made it possible with the silencer. You guys, with your contributions every month, make it possible for me. You guys know, like, the monetary, like, the amount of money it takes in hours to put that together. That's not cheap, dude. The testing, the analysis, everything. That's not cheap. And you guys, your contributions make it happen. And it's awesome. And everyone in the world owes you. And I mean that. It took a village to do this, and the team delivered. And I am getting a bunch of offers to send silencers in for testing. Thank you. Okay, thanks for your generosity, for your support, your enthusiasm, and your patience as I hang on to it for like an untold amount of time. So that's great. And again, I've gotten a lot of feedback from you guys recently regarding your use cases and what you expect from silencers. I asked you about that last podcast, and it's awesome. So I really do mean thank you. I'm about to send out some more welcome emails to the new members. Thank you for your patience with that. I'm excited to have you. It really does mean the world. I often take you guys up on your offers to send silencers for testing. I've accepted a multitude of personal silencers for testing. Some of them brand new, like I talked about. Me being the first one to shoot someone's silencer, I don't like that. It takes away the magic to me. Maybe if it's not your first silencer, that's fine. If it's your first silencer, don't send it to me before you shoot it. That's like ridiculous, dude. Like, come on, man. Like, you got to have that magic moment. But I mean, it's crazy to me. But nonetheless, folks want it tested, and if it benefits the community, if it has a high enough demand, I'll make it happen. I mean, it's all about supporting the greater good. So we're in it together. With regard to the recent feedback I got from some folks about the question I posted at the end of the last episode, or the question I posed rather, some of you sent incredibly detailed emails to me, which I love. Okay, please never shy away from that. They're incredibly detailed, so much information. If you know me, which you don't really know me, but you kind of do, because you hear me talk every week, so you know a little bit about how I think. You know I love a lot of information, so that's awesome. I appreciate it. I wanted to give you guys a feel for some of the information I got from folks. Just to summarize, there was one thing in particular from a longtime PEW Science member. He told me directly. He told me, and I thought this was a great suggestion. He actually suggested, he said, it would be a great idea to test other types of impulsive noise for frames of reference with a suppression rating. When I was speaking with him, I suggested things like using a nail gun on the back deck, things like that. Maybe test it in the mill standard way too, with sensors in those locations, just to get a feel for how it compares to some of the weapons. But then also like test it with sensors like in a use case position, like when you're kneeling down or something, like next, you know what I mean? That too, to get the good reflections, to see how the reflections are influencing, you know what I mean? So there's that. That would be a cool test. I was thinking about it. And that type of feedback is interesting because it speaks directly to expectations regarding the baseline performance expectations for silencer performance compared to known impulsive sound intensities, right? So we might need to do that, right? Like, you know how sometimes people have that dB scale of like hand clap, lawnmower, jet engine, and they compare it to silencers, and I'm like, you're like, the hand clap is kind of should be on there, but like the lawnmower and the jet engine, like those are like steady state noise. Like, why would you possibly want to compare that to a silencer sound? Like, that doesn't make any sense. The silencer is silencing a gunshot, which is like an impulsive momentary event. Like, you wouldn't compare the peak dB from a silencer shot to a constant steady state transient, or a steady state time history from a lawnmower or jet engine. Maybe that's why people think peak dB works for silencer measurement, because they looked at those graphics and people told them that was true or something. The dog is crying again. Oh, I'm almost done, baby. I know. Okay, you know what? First of all, I don't want you guys to think this dog's neglected because she had a great meal already today. Plus, she's been out many times. Also, she just wants attention. Okay, you're not in Guantanamo. Relax. She's like, I'm abused. I'm a victim. She's not a victim. I love this dog. But yeah, so I was thinking about, what sounds we could measure with PewSoft and characterize with the suppression rating that would be impulsive. So it would be useful. I mean, we could also measure a lawnmower for like a couple seconds and I could give you the suppression rating, but that's weird. I can do it for you. It would just, the data file would be gigantic. But we can still do it. It's just dumb. But anyway, so I thought that was a cool suggestion. And if you have any other suggestions for noises that are weird, tell me. And don't tell me about farts. They're not loud enough, okay? I'm looking at you, Form 1 companies or former Form 1 companies. Another group of information some folks gave me was some of you spoke in great detail and at great length about your expectations for different platforms and performance. And that was kind of an answer to the question that I posed. Some of you gave really good feedback on not only use case expectations and performance expectations, but feature expectations for silencers, like 22 silencers, 308, 762 silencers, 556 silencers, hunting silencers, handgun silencers, plinking silencers, multi-caliber silencers. Basically, a lot of you gave me direct consumer feedback about what you like to see from systems and what you don't like to see. And I think that's really cool. All of this is really valuable information, and the feedback from all you over the past 3 years by email and social media and phone and Reddit and discussion forums and all these things, it's really been great. It's really been great interacting with all you folks, and I think it's very valuable to discuss expectations of systems and the effort overall. I do. And so thanks, guys. I really do appreciate the support. I appreciate all the stuff I just spoke about, and I really appreciate you guys going to bat for me. I wanted to say something about that too. There are some times people sort of go out of their way to knock this effort down, put it in a negative light, and say really horrible things about me and things like all this stuff. And I can tell you right now that I see this effort as one of the most positive things folks have ever done in the firearms industry, and I can tell you folks feel that way too. And so thanks for fighting the good fight. I'm going to work on some more analysis for you folks, and I'll keep you updated on testing as I can. All right. So have a great week, and I'll talk with you folks again soon. And I'm going to post a picture of my scar because the weather's getting warmer. All right. Okay, bye.